All right, right. Hello, my lovely people. How you doing? Last night I had the 18-inch out in a country site. This was at King Lake. It was about, you could say, 70 kilometres from the city versus about 90 or 100 kilometres when I was at East Warburton. So the sky was not as good. There was more sky glow from the city. It was upsetting the view of the Small Magellanic Cloud. That's how much the glow was. But still, it's a farm. It's in the country. And I was there to compare views with previous views done with the 16-inch. Now, I can't take both scopes in the i30 at once to a country site, so I can't do the side-by-side unless I'm in the city. So this is a video to explain the side-by-side, at least the side-by-side comparison from my notes that I made. Now you can see in the photo, I've got the tent, got the dew hutch, got the dew hutch there, and I've got the 8-inch F5 Dobsonian. Now all the Dobsonians are F6, but back in 2002 when I bought this, it was they were selling an F5, right? So there we go. So let's just talk in general about the views before moving on to the objects compared to the 16-inch. Going from the 16-inch back to the 8-inch, which I've always used, it's disappointing. Even when you're in the country, it's disappointing. The views are comparable to in the city, obviously way better. You see millions more stars, but you don't quite see the billions of stars that you see in the 16-inch, because I was thinking there's billions of stars here, whereas in the 8-inch it's more like millions. Now, then they call this aperture fever. They say if you want to see more, you must have aperture fever, like gold fever, you want more. And this is certainly the case, but there's good reason for it. You can see so much more of the same object. Now, do you want to see a clear photo, or do you want to see a fuzzy photo? Because the 8-inch is equivalent to looking at something with as if it was a fuzzy photo, because you have only a small amount of the resolution compared to the huge telescope. Only a small amount of light is coming through. Only a small amount of light is being magnified compared to, say, 16-inch, which is 4 times more light. So, and everyone has known this for a very long time. William Herschel. Okay. He started with a small 4-inch or 6-inch reflector. He very quickly moved on to bigger and bigger scopes, and eventually he moved on to a 40-foot length, or 4-foot diameter, that is 48-inch telescope. Now, he was kind of in competition with Lord Rosse, who was sort of a decade or so after, or about the same time. Lord Rosse, William Parsons, and William Parsons thought, I'm going to do better than this guy. I'm making a 6-foot scope. So Parsons made his 6-foot scope, and Parsons went from a 15-inch. Look, I'm using a 16. Parsons was using a 15-inch with the speculum material. I guess you could look very roughly. You might compare that with an 8 or 10-inch, a 15-inch of that day with the speculum silver material. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I'm not sure. I don't know anyone talking about this. And he said the 15-inch isn't enough. This is Lord Rosse. I want a 24-inch. He built a 24-inch. He said, that's not enough. That's not enough. I want a 3-foot mirror. A 36-inch scope. Like the biggest obsession scopes. And you know what he said? He said, that's not enough. I want to see more. I want to see more resolution. So he built a 72-inch scope that can only go up and down, right? And a tiny bit side to side. He built it more also for the challenge of it. He loved engineering. He was an excellent engineer. He was more into the engineering aspect and the building aspect, as men are, than actually the astronomy. But he drew the Spiral Nebula and so many other things. The Andromeda and the Whirlpool Galaxy, and him and Herschel were wondering what these things are. And I saw he references Herschel in his notes. So he was actually competing with Herschel. He was competing with Herschel's 4-foot scope. I've gone off on a tangent, but what I'm trying to tell you is, you want more. Now, I know they say you'll hardly take out the 16, but when you take out the 8, it is a bit disappointing compared to the 16. So now we can move on to the objects. Orion Nebula, amazing. You can see the threads and the tendrils. you can see the threads and the tendrils in the Orion Nebula when it's higher up. As it sinks lower and lower, you can't see that as much. That decreases. As for color, forget about it. In the 8-inch, forget about it. You can almost imagine that it wants to show you color. And your brain's trying to tell you that there should be color here, but you're not seeing it. Not in the 8. In the 16, I see it. Other people say they're not quite sure if they see it in the 16. I see it clearly. Clear colors in the Orion Nebula. To me, it looks like the photo, but fainter. But yeah, anyway. But it's still, look, it's better than nothing. Better than nothing. So let's move on to the Omega Centauri, the brilliant Omega Centauri. A captured galaxy. It's absolutely massive. And I thought, okay, let's zoom in, as we did with the 16, to see the structure, because you can see structure when you zoom in. And when we zoomed into it, it just became, we took it up to 150. Couldn't do the 300 times with this, we didn't have the right eyepiece, but even at 150, we could see the structure inside, but it was incredibly faint. And that's the problem. And my bro said he could see those hexagonal structures in the middle that I described last time in the previous video. The non-uniform structures like there, like right there. There's one right there, right? Almost hexagonal, and there are a few more around it, around there. And you see that. And but my bro said, I'm not sure if I'm seeing that or if my brain is trying to generate that. And that meant that there wasn't enough light, there wasn't enough resolution, and the same phenomena, I believe, caused the that bloke in America to start drawing canals on Mars. And I saw those canals occasionally, and I thought, what's going on there? Is my brain playing a trick? And probably that was the case, because the photos don't reveal them. And this is where I probably did a disservice in my last video to, I said that the other astronomers hadn't realised that Omega Centauri had structure. That is not the case. I pull out my James Muirden, How to Use an Astronomical Telescope from 1989, and he actually says, and this is the power of having books and the dew hutch, right? And you want to take books with you. He says, in a telescope, it's a breathtaking ball of faint stars the size of a full moon. Although often reproduced in photographs, its original is far more impressive because of the fine tracery of the lines of stars that can be followed into the centre of the mass. And that's what I've been trying to tell you. And he says photographs always burn the centre out into uniform whiteness. And that's what I actually mentioned in the last video. I said you can't see the structure in photographs because it's overexposed, but you can see it in real life, and it's amazing structure, especially at 300 times in the 16-inch. And actually, Hartung said the same thing. He writes about Omega Centauri. He writes as follows. He actually says that it looks like delicate tangled threads of beaded gossamer. Larger apertures show a pronounced lace-like pattern, which seems to be of small crossing curved lines of stars. Dark lanes and streaks are evident with moderate magnification, and the star distribution is far from uniform. On a clear night, it is a most impressive and beautiful sight. So, in the 16-inch, like this was, damn. It was more than wow. It was like, it was like this. It was like this photo. But in the 8, it's faint as hell, unfortunately. So, yeah, I guess you want to go for the 16-inch, don't you? Okay, let's look at the next structure, the next comparison. Okay, so next comparison. I'd never looked at the NGC 5128 before. It's a radio galaxy in Centaurus. So on the photo, that's what it looks like on the photograph. In real life, it actually takes up a huge area. I haven't seen it in the 16 yet, but in the 8, it's basically it looks like a globular with a chunk taken out of the middle, like a dark lane in the middle, and that's all you see. A faint fuzzy with the chunk taken out in the middle. So you don't see this level of detail at all. Haven't seen it in the 16 yet. So it's kind of disappointing, but I was also amazed to see it. What's next? Next is 47 Tucana. So 47 Tucana in the countryside looks almost as good as 47 Tucana in the 8-inch, looks almost as good as 47 Tucana in the city through the 16-inch, is what I want to tell you. So there's that. Does it look like an explosion frozen in space and time as it's been described? Yes, it does. But you don't have that wow factor. With the 16-inch, I was looking at 47 Tucana at 300 times, and it looks like a swirling massive chaos, angry massive chaos. It's huge. It's wow. It's amazing. It looks like you're approaching a galaxy. It looks like you're a galaxy close up. A faraway galaxy. It's a close up galaxy, which is what it is. And it almost looks like a spiral as well. And you don't notice that at lower magnifications. In the 8-inch, you're not going to see any of that. The view, again, disappointing. What next? Next is, we tried because my bro had never seen the Galaxies before, and I'd never seen them until recently due to the 5 million people living in Melbourne. So we tried the sombrero. Now, I've seen this 20 years ago from the city, barely, with averted vision. Seen it again last night. Yeah, it looks much more prominent. It's a magnitude 8, so it's a very bright galaxy. If magnitude 8 can ever be called bright, no, it can't really. Yeah, like it's there. You can see the sombrero, but it's faint as hell. Faint as hell, unfortunately. Haven't seen it in the 16. We moved on to Leo to see the two bright ones in Leo. Hartung called them the brightest in Leo. So they're, of course, M65, 66. We pointed them out in the previous vid on the 16-inch. In the 16-inch, they look like a scratchy white smudge of star. Like someone's erased a star and they've smudged the whiteness over a larger area in a certain direction. But you could see structure. You could see structure, and they looked quite different from each other. You could almost see the spiral with averted vision also in the spiral one, right? In the 8, you could just see them, two faint smudges. They look similar, but there's hardly any detail, and that was disappointing. They were there, but they almost looked the same as each other. You could hardly see any detail at all in them. And these are, I reckon, magnitude 10 or 11. Nearby is the Hamburger Galaxy, magnitude 12.5. And although I believe an 8-inch can handle 12.5, the sky just wasn't dark enough for the Hamburger Galaxy, unfortunately. So it was invisible. I had it pointed right on it. I saw nothing. So no hamburger for you. It's going to have to eat less, shrink that stomach down. So there's the comparison. What I want to tell you is this. When you move to the larger aperture, you see a whole new universe, a whole new world. It's absolutely amazing. The problem is the weight. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to injure yourself. The weight is a big problem. With this, you can pick up the whole scope and move it somewhere else with the 8-inch. With the 16-inch, you need to dismantle it piece by piece and then pick up the pieces individually almost and move it to a new place. So that's a big problem. So you decide which one you want to do. Do you want to go for the 8-inch and you can carry it anywhere and you can say that's awesome, or do you want to views which are beyond wow in the 16-inch? I'm talking beyond wow. It's like give me a break. I feel like I'm on Star Trek, looking at the screen, approaching a galaxy. That's what you see in the 16-inch when you look at the globulars. With this, you see you just see faintness and wispiness. And anyway, that's the comparison. Under a dark sky, or an almost dark sky, in the countryside, between an 8-inch Dob and a 16-inch Dob, which can collect 4 times more light. Hope you've found the video valuable. If so, consider subscribing. And the reason is I don't need to monetize or anything, because I've got a bigger monetized channel and YouTube hardly pays anything anyway. But I just want to talk to other amateur astronomers basically, and that's the reason why. So cheerio. Hope you've enjoyed.